Hi everyone, welcome to the Athletic Skills Podcast, and today I've got Marnie Wills on me. So Marnie, I know you've been on before, so thank you very much for coming back.
Oh, no worries at all. It's a pleasure to talk to you always.
So Marnie, we're going to chat a little bit of a different topic to last time. So I know last time you went quite into depth of one of your passions around early years PE, and today we're going to chat a little bit different around AI. So it'd be really good to get your insights and your knowledge into that. It's sort of a growing thing at the moment around. And one of my opening questions, and I know a few people have asked me as well, so why AI? Why is it a real big thing that coaches and PE teachers or anyone listening to this should really know and maybe start to think about how they can use it in their practice?
Yeah, well, that's a big question to start with.
Yeah, we can go into depth after that.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll start with saying that AI is not a tech trend. It's not techy and is not a trend. It's here to stay. It's actually a behavioral shift. It's how we access knowledge. It's how we search. Social search now is now becoming AI search. It's how we solve problems. We can use AI as our strategic thinker and help it solve problems. And many industries are solving problems with AI, and medical is the top up there. And it helps us make decisions. So it's that behavioral change of using your AI to help you make better decisions, to help you understand what's going on in your brain and access what we call your domain expertise. And we all have our own domain expertise, regardless of where we are in our journey and our career. We have our knowledge, we have our experience, and we often always tap into our perspective on things. So this behavioral shift of how we access knowledge, how we solve problems, and how we make decisions is the way we should be viewing the use of AI.
So why do you think coaches should maybe start to shift and start to think a little about AI? Because coaching can be very human in terms of like people's perspective, like you mentioned, and their knowledge. So how can AI maybe start to shift, come into coaching and work with people in that way?
Yeah, so I think for our sports coaching and sports science industry, if we think about the massive developments in sports science, that changed the way we think, the way we plan, and the way we lead sessions, right? Because we know all the science behind it. AI is exactly the same thing. It gives us a whole new level on data interpretation. So the information we're getting in from athletes or the information we're getting in from other coaches, we're able to use AI to help distinguish and find patterns and help us look through that data and make decisions and compare and contrast so much quicker than ever before. It helps us with our creativity. In our head, we know we need to adapt some of our sessions that we're delivering because there's different learning styles, there's different abilities. And actually, sometimes that takes a lot of time to sit back and reflect and think, right? So it helps us with our creativity if we're using AI to help us. And then, I think a big shift for the industry is around reflection. Where do we get our own kind of mentoring from? And I know you mentor, you've got some mentees with you, and you've got a mentoring program. I mean, they're coming to you as well as the expert, and we still need that human connection. 100%, but we can also be using our own AI models to help with our reflection as well, and therefore AI is changing how we think, how we plan, and how we lead sessions or even lead in the industry.
So before we go into actually how coaches can maybe use AI and how it maybe starts helping them, can you just go into is there sort of are there different types of AI? I know you mentioned before about like agents or prompts and things like that. So can you just talk a little bit around the basics of AI first? I know again that's quite a very
Yeah, no, that's okay.
broad question.
So interestingly, I was at an AI conference last night, and there was a lot of AI experts in the room that are mainly data science. So when we think about artificial intelligence, we think, that's the top banner or the top overarching label. And then underneath that is something called machine learning. And that's basically how data was put into an AI system. It learned on that and it was able to kind of predict patterns and tell you what would be next. And that's been around since the 50s. And a lot of people in the room last night, that's known as like data science. And that was also machine learning. And they used to say, oh, that's what AI was. But now that's not what AI is referred to. So then after machine learning, we go down another layer to deep learning. And we've actually been using deep learning since, early 2000s, basically. Think social media algorithms, think Siri, think Alexa, So we have been using deep learning AI for quite a while. And then now the AI that we probably all know and love is what we call generative AI. And generative AI is it creates something new. It gets input, whether that's numbers, images, videos, text, verbal communication. It takes that and it creates something new. So that's what generative AI is. And that's kind of, where the superpowers that I like to use. And they're also known as large language models, so LLMs. The most popular one is probably ChatGPT. I call that the army Swiss knife of AI because it can do so many things. Then one of my favorites and probably my go-to is called Claude AI, which is absolutely amazing for writing. It's really, really good for critical thinking. And it's very good. I'm not a coder, but is very good if you're a coder. The next probably popular one is Gemini, which is Google Gemini. Amazing models at the moment, really good at making video as well, amazing at image, really, really good at helping kind of do certain tasks. So you can do like deep research on Gemini, where we were talking earlier about kind of the industry, about kind of not like the funds available within the sports coaching industry. So we could almost create a paper on that and do a whole deep research where Gemini goes off. We give it a prompt, go away and find. So we're not just saying find websites around funding for sports coaching industry. It could be find funding opportunities, talk to us about the change in the market, predict what could go forward, and can you give us a report on maybe some strategic partnerships? It will go off and do it all for you. So it finds the websites, but it does the critical thinking, and then it develops the report for you. So that's kind of where AI is at, and they're probably the three main ones that people know. But marketing and us as in the sports industry and coaches, we're kind of like content creators now as well, right? We're communicators, we're mentors, we're admin managers. I mean, we do it all. And I've been in the industry a long time as well. And my role is constantly changing. The bigger my team grows and the more kind of sports coaching that we do, but we have to do everything as a leader in the sports industry. And AI helps us do that. And we need to know a little bit about marketing and content creation. So the other two AIs just to take note of is Grok, which is XAI, Elon Musk. Grok is now inside X as well. So if you go and write a Twitter thread, I know I shouldn't call it Twitter, but you go and write a Twitter thread, you can also talk to Grok inside that, and everything about that person that wrote the thread will come up. So you can search that way. And Meta AI has just launched its AI tools called Llama. We've got it in WhatsApp now. It's coming into our social media platforms. And yeah, AI is changing everything. Netflix have connected with ChatGPT, right? So you can now to choose a movie instead of, I don't know, using a remote or scrolling down or whatever, you can talk to ChatGPT within Netflix to tell what mood you're in, and it gives, it is crazy times. And Perplexity AI is actually another really good search engine tool. I highly recommend that those in the sports industry know about this, because Perplexity is kind of seen as a bit of a Google killer. So we don't Google anymore. We kind of go to Perplexity, and Perplexity is in talks with TikTok to include in there. So our social media is changing as well as everything else. There you go. That was AI in a nutshell, where we're at now.
A whirlwind stop, yeah. And last thing, I know you've mentioned the phrase around AI agent, and everyone's going to have an AI agent at the moment. So is that kind of what sort of you mentioned, where someone can go off and do some research, or someone can go off and maybe write a series of emails for you? So is that kind of what an AI agent is that people are going to need or have down the line?
Yeah, so where do I start with this one? Because AI agents is a little bit controversial. A lot of we hear AI agents all the time, but the actual term agent and whether it's agentic or it's autonomous is very blurry at the moment because it's a new industry and it's all very new. It's very blurry at the moment. But this is my perspective of where we're at is your LLMs, so any of the models you use, can also kind of be called a chatbot, right? And you can do more with your chatbot when you customize it, and you give it context or a knowledge base. So where we are at now, the most important thing for the sports industry is to make sure that those work in sports industry, make sure they're started. They're using it every day. They're experimenting, just like, and I'm probably showing my age, but just when the iPhone came out, right? I had one app and then I had 10 app and then I had 100 app. It's just a process that you need to start just using. So highly recommend starting there. And then what the next thing is trying to think about customizing your AI, giving it information about you, your profession, who you like to work with. You just start to customize it so that it's training and it sounds a little bit more like you. Otherwise, what happens is it's generic content in, generic content out, and AI is training on its own AI content. So we still, as humans, have to add that domain expertise. So that's really important. And then from there, once you kind of trained your AI, you can create your AI assistants, which is again giving it knowledge-based custom instructions. And then you can link that AI assistant at the moment, maybe via a platform called make.com, where you're saying, okay, I've got an email come in, I connect that to Make. It then goes off to my AI model, that the AI assistant that I've trained to reply to emails. It talks like me, knows all about me. It gives me a draft, it sends it back to me, and then I check over it and send it. Or you have it automatically go out. So that's kind of the basic agent flow at the moment. A trigger in, there's another platform at the moment, and then you speak to your AI model and then you get an output. There's a little bit more autonomous now. So and before I talk about the autonomous bit, I guess the deep research in the LLM model. So you can do deep research on Gemini, Perplexity, ChatGPT. On the free version for ChatGPT, you only get a few deep research a month. But I guess you could call that a little bit autonomous because it's going off and it's researching and it's bringing it back. But you've given it a lot of guidelines. It's only doing that research according to the prompt you've given. So it's not quite autonomous yet, but it is a bit agent. It is a bit like an agent, right? Because instead of you doing it all, it's going off and doing it for you. There are actually some platforms. One is called Menace, which is a Chinese agent at the moment, but it can almost do everything for you and you see it do it. So for example, if you needed a new website to advertise a new product or service, you could go to Menace and you could say, right, start from the beginning. You could go really steps. I need to know about this market, find me statistics. What is the client? Who am I serving? This is what I think my product service needs to be. Then I need you to create a website. Then I need you to create a checkout page. And you just put that all into Manus. You leave it, you go away, you come back, probably 20, 30 minutes, and it's all done for you. So that is kind of the next kind of autonomous agent kind of there where we're there. I don't know enough about kind of moving to agentic, and I think I'll lose people if we go there anyway, so I'll probably stop at where we're at there. What I will say, and this especially those in kind of the sports industry that work a lot with data, that's really important, because we will get to a point where the agents that we do get to, and I'm predicting 5 to 10 years time, definitely non-negotiable by 10 years time, the agents need to know how to behave. So all the work we're doing now is training AI to sound like us, to know our domain expertise, and all the data you're getting in from your players, whether that is some of their fitness scores, whether that is some of the analysis that you've done on them, and then how you feed back on that. So the information you give them and the training plans you then go and tweak, as an example, that becomes valuable data. That becomes information that AI agents are going to need going forward. So you'll already be a step ahead if you've already got that data now. So start training AI now. You won't regret it. And not only is it going to help you be more efficient in your role, it's going to help you be more creative, really be a thought leader in the industry if you're using AI.
You mentioned it there, and kind of took my question away in terms of why the sporting coaches, and I know your background in PE as well, but there's a lot of benefits there in terms of what AI could bring in. I know, especially in the sporting world, data's kind of driving the sport now in terms of you could get data on literally, in terms of football, you could get data on literally every sort of action or metric about players. You can get literally data on anything about that player. So there's so much data within sport, and also data that within the fitness side, like programs like you mentioned. So you've probably answered it there in terms of why AI should really be now for coaches, rather than thinking it's like you mentioned, it's going to be it won't be there in 5 years' time, or it's just sort of a trend at the moment. So, so yeah, where sort of go on. Sorry.
I think also what's really important for us to note in the sports coaching industry is when do we start coaching the next generation, and where are they at in their AI journey, and how can we add value to them? Because coaches, we're not just there, if you've got a holistic view on coaching, and I think that's my favorite part about being a sports coach. I have a England what am I coaching this year? England mixed 20s for touch rugby. We're going to the Youth Atlantic Cup in August. One thing I love about my job, it's not just that on the pitch, it's off the pitch. It's that holistic view of an athlete, and building that rapport. And I think if we, as the leaders in the industry of sport, or even the leader of your kind of sport, or even just your team, if you can have a really good grasp on how you're using AI, and you then can start to have a conversation with, the next generation coming in, because I think they're in a really tough position. I think that at schools, by the time schools are able to adopt and start to implement AI literacy, it's going to be too late. The jobs that are out there in, my daughter's 7, so in 17 years time, when she's ready to go to uni's going to look different. And if she decides not to go to uni and she goes to get into the workforce, 10, 12 years time, the jobs are going to look different. I think the jobs are still going to be there, but the job descriptions are going to look different. How you do your job is going to look different. And actually, I'm not sure the education system is going to be able to really nurture children through this technological revolution. And therefore, where do a lot of our society get the extra social, emotional, physical, mental? Where do they get that well-being from? Sport. So we have a huge job to play, and I actually think that's really exciting.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are very much, maybe not, I wouldn't say negative, but maybe have a fear in terms of another classic line that is going to replace the human element of coaching or the human element of people's industry. So I'm guessing that industry people shouldn't be worried about that sort of side.
No, honestly, I fundamentally disagree with that. I honestly believe that the use of AI is going to make us humans have superpowers. It is going to allow us to be such critical thinkers. It's going to allow us to really kind of achieve so much more than we've ever achieved before, and therefore almost outsource a lot of the mundane tasks. Those, we call it in business, the £10 tasks. If you're the leader of your business, don't do the £10 task. You need to do the £100 task. Is kind of that kind of business savvy chat. And I think AI is going to help us outsource that. So therefore, people are going to want the human connection, and the human connection is going to be more genuine, because, we're not doing the little mental load tasks we need to do. We're not overwhelmed all the time, or we're not thinking of the 101 things we've got to do. We're present, we're in the moment, and we're really trying to get the best out of each other, where I believe. But obviously I'm biased because I am an AI trainer and consultant and strategist, and I do live in the AI world a lot, and I apply it to all my businesses, and including my Sporty Minis business. All of my coaches, they have their own trained AI. We are reflecting a lot on our coaching practices using AI, and we're developing so many resources for the early years sector. And yeah, honestly, we are all in on AI, and it has massively grown our business. And the impact for that is we teach almost 3,000 children, early years children, a week. And we've only got to that point. I've been in business almost 11 years, and we've only got to that point in the last 18 months, thanks to AI.
I think it'd be good to go into sort of a case study and an example, because I've had a couple of questions from people within the industry around programming and planning, and thinking back to my own practice. That was a big task for me as a coach, in terms of if you're working with, let's say, 20 athletes, and you might want to create individual programs for each player, and it's going to take a lot of time, and you might not be able to go into much individualization as you want. So sort of, can you start to give an example in terms of how AI can maybe start to help you or help as a coach in terms of that programming and planning side?
Yeah.
And yeah, see where that might help.
Yeah, so a free tool to use to do it free would be via NotebookLM, and it's a Google platform. And in NotebookLM, you can have what it's called a notebook. And in that notebook, you can upload up to 50 sources. And that 50 sources could be player profiles. It's really good to know your DISC profiles of all your players, their personality traits, any kind of medical information, any of their results from any fitness testing, just as an example, your kind of coaching plan or anything that needs to go in there. You can add that all to a notebook, and you can just keep adding to that. And then you can chat to the AI, which is driven by Gemini, and you could say, Isaac has just come back from his knee injury. I know we discuss, and anytime you have a meeting with an athlete as well, make sure you record it, and then you could pop that in to your notebook for that athlete. And then you could just say, I know we spoke about periodization of the next program. Can you list the how that would look with the information you've got? right? And it does that for you. And then that is saved every time in that notebook. Every time you're having a conversation, it's saved in that notebook for the athlete. And you could even send them the link to that notebook so they've got access to it as well. And they could talk to the AI in that notebook. So that's one example. And you could have a notebook for all of your athletes if you like. And you could even have a notebook for any of your assistant coaches or your coaches. And you can also do that on the paid version in ChatGPT. It's called Projects. I think I know, Isaac, you've set yourself up a few projects already. It's different from a chat. It's a project. You do need to be on the paid version, and you just upload. It's called Knowledge Base, which is exactly what I just said in the notebook about having the resources or the sources. That is the knowledge base. And then you have your custom instructions. So your custom instructions is kind of it being your second brain. So a lot all about you, how you coach, your coaching pedagogy, your big periodization planning, that will all go in the knowledge base, but also in the customization. And it's really easy to write custom instructions. You basically just open up a chat in any AI model and say, I want to create an AI assistant that I think does this for me. And you say X, Y, Z. What else do you think it can do? And ask me any questions, again, because we want to add our domain expertise, ask me any questions that will help you create these custom instructions. And then you just go back and forth, and then it creates the custom instructions for you. So AI can do all the hard legwork for you. So hopefully that's an example that will be helpful.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And like you said, there's still that human element in terms of that talking backward and forward, and you're still giving your own views as well as because you're going to have some knowledge and then you're adding your knowledge to that. But it's just saving you time. Especially, I found the time consuming part was the actual thinking of exercises and then also actually the writing down, copy and pasting and everything over and things. So that sounds like it's going to take a lot of those time and tasks away as well.
Actually, I've got another really good potential kind of AI workflow to set up. It's really easy. If you're on the paid version of GPT, there's something called tasks. Have you heard of them?
No, no, I've not heard of that one.
Okay, so tasks are where you create kind of, it can be a reminder or it could be an actual, the ChatGPT has gone off and done a task for you. So here's the two that I've got. Every Monday morning, I want to send my team of coaches like some motivation, whether that's like a little bit of personal motivation or, like a quote, no pain, no gain, that type of motivation stuff, or whether it's something about the impact that they make on children's lives. So, teachers make the most impact in children's lives and they see children, 75% of the time or something like that. Like I want something like that. So I've gone away and instead of every Monday, one, having to remember it, two, doing the research, I've set up a task in ChatGPT where I've gone in and I've said, I would like, and I've given it examples of the quotes and the type of Monday motivation that I want, and I want one different one each week, so it's not always the same. I've given some example websites. I've said you don't have to go to these websites, but here's some example. It goes off, and every Monday I get an email and a notification on my ChatGPT with the Monday motivation. I just copy. I obviously check over it, make sure I'm happy with it. I actually have asked it to give me 3 options just in case, that the first one's not a good one. And then I check over, I pick my one, and then I pop it straight in the WhatsApp group. And that task takes me 60 seconds versus 5-10 minutes it would have taken me before. The other task I've got is that I like to do a lot of research in the industry, especially the early years sector, because that's where my sports coaching business is. And so every Wednesday I get an email that comes in and it's summarized it's sent away, it's summarized all of the industry articles, anything I need to know, any changes in policies, everything comes to my inbox every Wednesday morning. That saves me an hour at least a week and trying to remember to do it. So super easy to set up. Highly recommend if you're on the paid version of ChatGPT, you start to use the tasks feature.
And I can think of relating to that with the task feature. I can think of a task that I had to do was that took ages was summarize all the data from maybe a training session. Maybe you've got GPS data, maybe you've got force plate data, you've got wellness data, you've got data from maybe the coaches, and then you've got to summarize all that and provide a report to the players and the coaches maybe the end of the week or the start of the week in terms of what people are doing. So that could save a lot of time as well in collating that and maybe highlighting who maybe in a red zone, who needs to work on X or Y as well. So thinking that maybe PE teachers who have a lot of reports to write or strength and conditioning coaches who have reports or feedback to provide, that can save a lot of time as well in terms of that side.
Amazing, exactly that. And that is your domain expertise, Isaac. You can just go like this all the time. So you could create a GPT for those sports coaches to be able to use, where they upload the data and use your link, and they don't then have to think about the information that they need from that data. You've gone and trained the AI so it knows what information it needs and it comes up. Because half of the issue of what we do, right, is we go, what information here's the data, but what do we actually need to extract from it? It takes a lot of knowledge, right? And the more you do it, the better you get at it. But still, that's quite clear. This is where you use AI to help you do that.
I think I heard a quote from Stephen Bartlett, who's quite into AI, and he said since AI has made people ask better questions, and I think you mentioned there, obviously you mentioned around critical thinking, so that's one real change in terms of in that human interaction. It makes us ask better questions for people as well, so that's a real big change in terms of the human element as well that AI is providing.
It comes back to that behavioral shift, right? Like we are literally in like a new operating system of life and business. It is different. Everything we're going to do with AI going forward is going to look different. So the first thing to start always in your head, I don't know, like whenever we want to find information, we're trained to say Google it, right? So now we have to change that and we have to say, oh, I need to do this task, or how about I have a think about, or I need to do this research. The first thing you should think is, how can AI be your collaborator and your strategic thinker? Always. I have a sticky note often on my laptop. Can AI help me do this? Not do it for me, help me do this. Like just simple, like, can AI help me do this? Every time I talk to someone, they go, I've got to do this. The first thing that goes in my head is, have you thought about using AI to help you? Right? That is new operating system change that we do have to get used to. This generation coming through, they won't even think twice. It will, that will be them. But for us, because we're so used to the way we have accessed information before, the way that we have done our tasks before, we have to change the way we're thinking so that we can do it more efficiently and creative.
So I'm thinking maybe the sports coaches and PE teachers or S&C coaches maybe listen to this and haven't used AI before. It may be a little bit overwhelming in terms of everything that we mentioned, all the benefits. So how can they maybe start to maybe introduce AI simply into their practice? Is there any simple tasks that can maybe go first, or maybe simple, like you mentioned, some prompts that can maybe use? So yeah, how can they maybe start to integrate some sort of AI into their work?
Yeah, this is the most popular question I get. So number one is, I would download Perplexity on your phone, Perplexity AI on your phone. And anytime you attempt to go to Google, do not go to Google and go to Perplexity. And the reason for that is, you go to Google, you put in, I don't know, what did I put in? Oh gosh, thinking on top, I'm a sports coach here. Okay. Invasion games. I must have done this the other week. I'm looking for new invasion games from a right? And something from Ultimate Frisbee come up, which was great. But I wanted to think outside the box when I was delivering some new warm-up games, and I wanted to take it from another sport rather than rugby or touch rugby. So I put that, like, I obviously used AI, but say I was going to use Google for that. Now, when I use Google for that, an AI answer may come up because it's connected to Gemini, but then it comes up with all the websites, right? And you've got to go through and look through all of them. Perplexity is different. Perplexity, you put that same prompt in. It's called prompt engineering. So you just, whatever you want to ask, don't overcomplicate prompt engineering. There are certain ways to learn to do it, but just starting is really important, and just communicate, just talk to it. They're so smart, the AI models now. Just talk to it like you're talking to a human, one of your players, one of your other coaches. Just talk to it like that. So find me invasion games, put into Perplexity, find me invasion games from non-commercial sports, right? Instead of looking through all the websites, it does all the website search for me and then gives me an AI answer, as well as another 4 or 5 prompts of which I could then select after that. And if I want to check the games, I can go to the websites because it shows the sources. So that is the first thing, is start using Perplexity for almost anything that you think I need knowledge about. Second thing is, choose an AI model, whether it's Gemini, whether it's Claude, whether it's ChatGPT, doesn't matter. Just choose one, download it on your phone, and again, just start using it. Think creative. What can it help me create? So when you're looking for knowledge, Perplexity, but when you're looking to create something, you use your AI, you use your LLM models. So that would be the first 2 things to start with. And then obviously come and subscribe to my newsletter on LinkedIn, because I talk a lot about AI, but also just find 1 or 2 newsletters or YouTube that talk about AI, maybe relevant to the industry or just general AI. I do a lot of AI marketing. So there's a really good podcast course, Against the Grain, which is very, very good. There's one called AI Explored. So there's a lot. Just find one or two and just every week, just put aside, maybe it's on your commute to one of your training sessions or on the way back from one of your training sessions. Just start finding somebody to follow just to keep yourself in the loop and the knowledge. And then the very last thing, which I hope everybody understands, is start talking to your AI. I have a confession. I talk to my AI quite a few times a day. There's a voice mode on all of them. At Christmas time, I had it sound like Santa. It was quite hilarious. But you can change the way it sounds, English, American, whatever you choose. I've got kind of a little bit of an Australian accent going on mine, just so I feel like I'm a little bit at home. Anyway, so I just talk to it every day. Like literally last night, I was on the way home from London working. I knew I had my podcast with you today, and I just wanted to brainstorm a few ideas. Again, get my knowledge out here, right? So just start talking to my AM. I'm going to put the voice mode on. I'm driving. Hey, I've got this podcast tomorrow. This is my industry. And I want to try to add the AI bit, ask me questions about what I can answer and what knowledge I can give, right? And then it comes back and goes, okay, yeah, I'll ask you questions. And then I answer it. And then I go, or what do you think? So I'm asking the AI what to think. And the conversation was about 15 minutes long. You say thank you, press stop, and then you get the transcript. And then you could even take that and create a blog post out of it if you wanted to. Do that every day, even if it's just a reflection on your coaching. Maybe it's just a brainstorm about a player that you haven't quite built rapport yet with, or maybe they're plateauing and underperforming. Just start talking to your AI. Let it be your collaborator and your critical thinker. Honestly, you will see yourself really up level and really progress in your career for sure.
Yeah, so I don't use Perplexity, so that's something that I'm going to action after this as well. So that's really good advice. So you mentioned around a lot of the stuff you're doing around your newsletter or some other resources that you're providing as well. So can people get in touch or have a look at the things that you're working with and maybe and how you're showing how to maybe start using AI?
Yeah. So on my LinkedIn bio, on Instagram, business with AI underscore strategist. I have a Stan store. It's just like a link. So there's a lot of free guides. There's a Perplexity free guide, which I highly recommend you download. There is a business guide, free business guide. Again, the newsletter, LinkedIn, a couple of resources. So a train AI to sound like you. I'm not sure if it's up yet because I only recorded it on Wednesday, so it'll be up next week. I promise, but it should be up by the time this podcast comes out, I'm sure. Yeah, so there's lots of things in there, lots of free stuff, some paid stuff. I do also offer strategy calls as well, 30-minute free strategy calls. So, if you just want 30 minutes to rattle off how you think AI can help you, more than happy to do that as well.
No, it's brilliant, and I've learned loads from just chatting to you and seeing your newsletters as well, and seeing a lot of changes in my business work and my coaching. So I really appreciate the work you're doing around, and you're also making it very digestible as well for people to read rather than quite overwhelming or very tech that people might get put off by. So yeah, I really appreciate it.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for having me again.
No, thank you, and I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point. AI or the world might be a lot different maybe when you next come on. So I'm sure we'll have to catch up and have another chat.
Sounds great.
Thank you, Samani.